Welcome to Better Man. My name is Gabe, and this channel is all about helping young men along the roads of their self-improvement journeys. Now, really quickly, I just want to welcome all the new subscribers to the channel. I'm very happy and excited that my last video did well and I got some new subscribers, so I'm hoping that you all enjoy the content and find it beneficial. And if any of you have any questions or want specific topics covered, please let me know and I'd be happy to go over that. So for today's video, we're going to do a self-improvement tier list. So I'm breaking this down into an S tier, an A tier, a B tier, a C tier, and a D tier. And how we're going to go over this list, we're going to talk about both habits as well as mindsets or states of being that I have found helpful to me in my self-improvement journey. Also, I'll be acknowledging the things that I know that I need to work on, I need to improve at, that I'm struggling with currently. For me, I've been really focused in this self-improvement and personal growth mindset for a while now. For at least several years, I've been pretty serious about it. There's been a lot of habits that I've implemented, including like breath work, meditation, all that trendy stuff, no fat, and then some other things that I've done that may be less common that have really worked for me as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the list. All right, so we're going to start off with S tier. S tier, these are going to be the foundational components of any self-improvement routine, or really just a good life in general, right? If you don't have these in place, your life is going to have a diminished quality. So starting off, we have a quality sleep routine. For me, I feel best off 8 hours a night. Sleep is something that I really need to prioritize, and when I don't, I see my life negatively affected. So this is something I've done good with in certain ways and I haven't done as good with. There was a period where I just constantly be on my phone every night before bed, and I knew it was hurting my sleep quality. I knew that I would wake up the next day and my mood would be not as good. I wouldn't be as cognitively in the zone or dialed in. I was just a little worse, but I kept doing that. And, about 3 months ago, I realized I can't keep doing this. I need to be taking my sleep hygiene a little seriously. So I started putting my phone away before bed, started making sure that I was giving myself enough time to get, at least 7 hours, but closer to 8. And my quality of life has improved. My mental health has improved. For any person out there, any guy out there whose sleep routine is not in place, you might think you feel pretty good, and maybe you really do, but if you increase your sleep quality and the time you're sleeping, you're going to notice that you're recovering the gym's better, your mood is better, you're able to think faster on your feet. You're just going to feel better overall. So this is a foundational principle. Next, we're going into fitness. Now, fitness comes after sleep, because if you're not sleeping enough, you're not going to recover from your fitness. So get that sleep checked first. But fitness is going to be crucial, and I talked about this a lot in my last video. First of all, you're building a stronger, more resilient, more healthy body, right? So we want to have energy and vitality for our daily lives, and so we can live as long as we want to. But also, we're improving how we look, so we're going to feel more confident. People are going to respect us more. We're going to be more desirable to women. Fitness just attacks so many different areas of your life, as well as the mindset, your ability to delay gratification, to be disciplined. So your fitness is crucial. Now, for me, this looks like resistance training, which I think is the #1 form of fitness. It doesn't have to be weights. It could be calisthenics, but you need to have some form of fitness. And cardiovascular fitness is great too. I definitely recommend that and incorporate it myself. But I would say that resistance training is going to have the most significant physical changes on your body and is the best for longevity and things like that. The third in the S tier is going to be diet. Now, you can have a good fitness routine, you can have a good sleep routine, but if you're eating like shit, you're not going to be at the peak performance you want to be. And this doesn't have to be as obsessive as some people make it. A lot of people take diet and they're like, okay, it has to all be organic. I have to count all my calories. And I've definitely fallen into this in the past. I remember when I was a kid, and my mom, she would always get me organic foods, and I became obsessive about it. If it wasn't organic, I wasn't going to eat it, and it became something that was honestly taking the quality of my life and diminishing it, because I was so fixated on only eating these certain foods. Now I'm a lot more flexible about it, and I know that this, is not maybe the most healthiest meal. Like, sure, I'll have a burrito, I'll have some ice cream, I'll have all these from time to time, but I'm going to have those in moderation. And the foundations of my diet are always going to be whole foods, micronutrient rich, protein dense, those basics. We don't have to really overcomplicate this. The last thing in the S tier is going to be your mental health. Now, this is less of a habit, it's more of a state of mind, a state of being. But if your mental health is not in check, that is just going to diminish every single area of your life, right? So we need to make sure that we are seeing things from a resourceful point of view. If you're constantly anxious, depressed, or just struggling in your own head, you're not going to be able to operate how you want to operate in life. It's going to negatively affect your friendships, your drive and your ambition, your ability to focus. So if your mental health's not in check, get that in check. And that's where different things like these positive habits we implement with meditation can help, therapy can help with that. Depending where you're at with your mental health, you always should be doing something to keep that maintained and to keep that balanced. Now we're dropping down to the A tier. So the A tier is going to be not those foundationals that you have to have, but these are things that if you're taking your self-improvement seriously, you should try these and likely implement these for the long term. First thing is going to be taking massive action. Now this is going to be more abstract, I guess. I got this term from Tony Robbins, and what this refers to is taking action on your goals immediately. So let's talk, for example, if you feel like, I want to run a marathon. Well, a lot of people have thoughts like those that come into their head and then they don't act on it, right? Nothing happens, nothing actually transpires. So what you need to do is when you have that motivation, rather than just feeling that, letting that fleeting feeling escape and not doing anything, you need to take some form of action right away. That could be signing up for the marathon. That could be buying a pair of running shoes, like whatever it is. We need to take immediate action when we have these goals if we really want to actually implement and achieve these things. Taking massive action is also going to be in the form of relationships, right? If you have negative people in your life, well, I got to cut them out. Like, taking massive action just means that you're not overthinking these things. If you know you need to do something, you execute. All right, the next thing is going to be having a growth-oriented mindset. Now, what this refers to is how you perceive your life, how you perceive feedback from others, failures, setbacks. When you have a growth-oriented mindset, you're really going to see things in a different way. If somebody gives you feedback and is critical of you, it's really easy for us to become defensive. But when we have a growth-oriented mindset, we're going to approach those things in a, okay, they're saying this thing that I did wrong. Okay, well, maybe I don't feel that way, but since they're saying that, there's definitely an area where I could improve, or maybe it came across a certain way that I didn't intend it to. How could I make it come across the way I intended it to come across? So you're really analyzing things in a more detached way where your ego is not taking over. It's more about, how can I be the best? I can always be better. How can I become better every time? Not, people are attacking me, I need to be perfect. Not that type of mindset. The next one is going to be no porn. Now I put no porn, not no fap, because for me personally, I don't really have a problem with fapping, with jerking off. If you genuinely are just sexually charged, horny, whatever, I feel like that's fine. Like, that's how I see it. Now, if it comes to the point where you're being compulsive about it and you're just doing it because you're bored, you're stressed, whatever, okay, sure, that's not how we want to use this. But I mean, dude, I am a high testosterone male. I know many of you guys out there are, and it can be tough not to do anything about that, especially if you're going through phases where you're not having sex, or your girlfriend's away, or you're just in a mode where you don't have time to talk to women, whatever. Again, with the no porn, for me, I've really noticed that the consumption of pornography really messes with my mental health, and I get more anxiety in my life. My confidence is lower. Now, I know there's a lot of hypotheses about why this is that a lot of self-improvement guys have. For me, I think part of it is the way we consume it in this day and age, where you're hyper-stimulating yourself. You're oversaturating those dopaminergic receptors in your body, and you just get these peaks and these crashes. And it also really messes with our attention spans. It's all in all a bad thing. So I do not advocate for watching porn. One of the last ones is going to be your circle of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. So we've all heard this term that we are essentially the product, the amalgamation, the combination of the 5 people we are around the most, whether it's our family, our friends, our colleagues. And if we're spending time with people who do not share our same goals, who have negative lifestyle habits that we don't want for ourselves, some people can succeed in spite of that, but it's going to drain the energy of that person. And even if we're the strongest individual out there, it's still going to be very draining. And most people are not going to be succeeding in spite of that. Most people will end up failing when they're surrounding themselves with people who spend way too much money, binge drink, don't care about their health, right? We're going to start going in that direction. So we need to be honest with ourselves. Are we surrounding ourselves with people who are living a lifestyle that's not conducive to what we want? Saving money and having positive financial habits, that's also going to be an A tier. And saving money is something that, I have struggled with a lot. I definitely have some financial habits that are not the most resourceful, but I've really locked down on and focused on improving that in the past couple months. And it just brings you such a peace of mind when you have money in the bank and you know that I don't have to worry about overdrafting my checking account. And to go further with that, right, if we have goals, if we want to become financially successful by building businesses or making quality investments, we need money to do that. So if we're just spending all our money on bullshit, we're not going to be able to better our future selves. Lastly, in this A tier is going to be failure. This is going to be similar to growth-oriented mindsets, but anybody who is successful is going to see failure in a different way. Maybe not initially, but you'll learn to. So when you fail at something, initially that can be really tough. It can be embarrassing. It can be demotivating. But the more and the more you do it, the more you start to realize, wow, like I learned so much from these failures. I learned things that I apply to future efforts. And because I know not to do X, Y, or Z, I end up succeeding. And this kind of reminds me of some areas in my business where there was areas that I knew I wanted to market myself initially. And I saw other trainers doing it or not doing it. And I was like, I'm going to try this. I really think this will work. And it ended up being a source of really no benefit for me. So I said, okay, I could assess and say, this isn't going to work at all. I checked that off. I don't have to waste my time on it now. Or I think that would have worked. I think the reason it didn't work is because I did this. Let me alter this and try it again. And you can kind of iterate until you find what works. So failure is really something that if you talk to any of the most successful people, they really don't have a problem with. There's a term, fail upwards, but essentially it's the more failures we have, the more we can learn from it, the more we can build on that and just go up into those next echelons that we want to be at. So next, we're going to jump into the B tier. Now, I'm going to go a little faster over these because I don't feel like they need as much explaining, but we're going to start off with scheduling and planning your days and weeks. Now, for me, this is necessary. I'm kind of a forgetful person, and this keeps me accountable, right? So I schedule when I'm going to work out. I schedule my sessions with my clients. I schedule time with friends. But the thing to note about this is you don't want to be too obsessive about it. So I definitely in the past got to the point where if it was on my schedule, I had to do it. If I missed it, I got upset at myself. And that's just not realistic, right? Sometimes in life, you're going to have to adjust things. So now I have it more as a template or a framework that I'm very understanding with myself. If I need to drag something down and switch things around, it's okay. I just know that throughout the week at some point, I need to get those done. Morning routines. Morning routines are something a lot of people overcomplicate, and I think it actually takes away or detracts from their main purpose. But it is important to have something you do every morning. For me, it's breath work and meditation, and I try to take no more than 15 minutes on that. In the past, I had morning routines that took an hour to do, and I just felt like that really detracted from my main goals that I was trying to accomplish. Drinking water. I'm not going to spend time on this. If you're not drinking water, if you're not drinking enough water, what are you doing, guys? Like this is just drink water. This is a rookie one. Hobbies. Hobbies are important. There's going to be times in our lives that we're not able to do as many of our hobbies because we're so focused and grinding on one specific thing, building a business, whatever. But generally, we want to make time for our hobbies These are things that give us enjoyment in life, that give us purpose. Without these, my quality of life is not the same. So I've definitely made an effort to actually schedule, to put on my calendar things like I'm going to do yoga, I'm going to go to the beach, time for myself every week. And this has really improved my quality of life and as a result, my productivity as well. Next, sunlight and time in nature. This has positive impacts on your testosterone levels. This is good for your mental health. It's energizing, it's stress reducing. I like to make sure to get a little sunlight every day in the form of just going for a midday walk. If you can't do that though, maybe that means you need to go somewhere, go for a jog after work, get up a little earlier in the morning. Whatever it is, definitely prioritize that daily sunlight. It does help a lot. Meditation and gratitude. These can be done together or done separately. Meditation, of course, is powerful because it's so good for your mental health. It is going to allow you to be less of a reactive person, more in the present moment, less judgmental, more objective. And this is obviously helpful from being confident, being less insecure, being more able to critically analyze things. And gratitude is just going to affect the quality of your happiness. When you're seeing things out of a place of gratitude, you're just going to be seeing the whole world in a different way that's more conducive to being happy rather than what do I want, what do I need. Okay, I have this and I'm so grateful I have this. Mentally, it's a huge shift. It's been so powerful. Minimize alcohol. Now, I drink alcohol. I do. I don't eliminate it all the way, but definitely minimizing it is something that's huge. And I minimize the amount I drink, so I don't really binge drink anymore. And I also minimize the frequency. So I'm drinking 2 nights a week max. And even that, I think, if I'm being real with myself, is a little too much because I do know that it does, even if I have a little bit, like 1 or 2 beers, it's going to negatively affect the quality of my sleep and it's going to impact my recovery ability for my workouts. So you just have to be real with yourself, right? Are these things conducive to what I want to achieve, to the person that I want to be? Next, reading or listening to audiobooks. I think you can really do either. Some people can read and they can focus on that. Some people can't at all, and that's okay. You got to find what works for you. But you should definitely be focused on intaking some type of knowledge that's going to just better you in your overall life. People who read also are going to be people who are more interesting. When you talk to someone who's a reader, they have more interesting anecdotes. They can relate to you from more perspectives. They will sound more authoritative when they talk because you can just tell that they're a very learned person. Cold showers and breath work. Now, these are the last in that B tier list. I don't think everyone's going to benefit from them the same level that I have, but they are very powerful, specifically for energy, for mental clarity, for confidence, for building a more resilient immune system. I love taking a 30-second to a minute and a half cold shower in the morning, and even just jumping into the cold water in the ocean. I'll probably show this in a future video. And breath work, Wim Hof method is something that I've done a lot myself. I found a lot of benefit from that, but there's many different breathing methods you can do. On YouTube, if you type in, I think it's Breathwork Beats, it's a great channel. I think people underestimate how powerful this can be. You get a natural high from it. You get this clarity and this energization in your body that's really powerful. And it's just fun too. It's just a genuinely fun thing to do. So now we're going to jump into the C tier. These are things that I think are good for many people, but they're not necessary for really anybody. So if you have your other tiers dialed in, feel free to start looking into these, but I don't think everyone needs to really obsess about this. Self-improvement YouTube videos. All right, I put this in the C tier, and I know I am a self-improvement YouTuber, and there's many that I watch out there that I love. The deal with this is sometimes people get a little too caught up in watching these videos to where they start to do less in their own lives. So they begin to maybe vicariously live through someone like Hamza, who he's traveling in Thailand or wherever he recently was. He's making all this money online. It's amazing. And wow, I think that's great for him, but I want that too. And when I'm just watching that constantly, I can kind of get that feeling of accomplishment without actually doing anything myself. So it's important to remember that I need to be implementing these things in my own life. So I can watch these YouTube videos. Sometimes it's only going to be entertainment for me. It's okay if sometimes I acknowledge, right now, this is just a form of entertainment for me. I'm not actively, really studying, but it's still good to have this type of information being consumed. You just got to acknowledge that. Are you watching this right now because you're really utilizing this and applying this, or is it more entertainment? Be real with yourself there. Style and fashion. Style and fashion is something that I don't really have developed very much, but I definitely have noticed that when I focused on, wearing better fitting clothing, wearing colors that just work with my skin tone more, things like that, it definitely takes up another notch the looks you get from the opposite sex, just your presence in a room, that really does come into play. And one thing I'll say is if your fitness is right, you can have very simple clothes and they'll fit you nicely and it'll look a lot better than if you're out of shape. So get that fitness style then, guys. Next, no weed. For me, weed is something that is not beneficial at all. I don't think that's the case for everyone, but I will say I've rarely met somebody who has actually benefited from weed. So I know a lot of high functioning entrepreneurs and people who they'll smoke at the end of their days, but I don't really know anyone who's smoking constantly throughout the day who's really getting stuff done. And I know they're out there, but generally I don't think weed is really helping anyone. You got to be real with yourself there. It's okay to have our things we partake in from time to time, but if it's like every day throughout the day, is it really helping you? Probably not. Last one in the section rather, is going to be cooking from home. Underrated. If you're eating out all the time, you can still make healthy choices. You can still find quality meals, but it's going to cost you a lot more money and it's going to be harder to do that. So if you're able to meal prep from home, you're going to save time, you're going to save money, you're going to be controlling what you're intaking a lot more. So this is definitely a good move for anybody who has the time. And really, we all should have the time there. Lastly, D tier. We just have two here. Taking supplements. Taking supplements is something that is so appealing to anyone in the self-improvement community. We're all so interested in, I could take this for this benefit and, whatever. I could make my workouts enhanced if I take this substance versus this substance. And I take supplements. I take creatine for my workouts. I take a fish oil, a multivitamin, all that. But I know that these are really, tertiary benefits, right? Like my foundations, if those are in place, I probably don't really need these. Sure, maybe they help a little bit. If I'm actively deficient in something, like if I'm deficient in vitamin D, okay, then I should be taking a supplement and I will benefit from it. But most of us are not going to be deficient in things, and we don't even know if we're deficient unless we get blood work done. So, if you have the extra money, if you really want to take something like maybe your fitness to that next level and get on creatine, supplement with a little extra protein powder, that's cool. But supplements are not going to be a necessity for any of us. And lastly, picking enemies or rivals. Now this is kind of random, it just popped into my head, but essentially on our own journeys, sometimes people will look at others for motivation and kind of compete with them. And I think that's really healthy. I do that myself. But when it comes to the point where you're looking at someone else and you're saying, I hope I succeed and they fail. I hope that these things go terribly for them, that their business falls apart. When you actually start having a bitterness towards other people, that's going to take away from the energy that you can put into your own stuff. So, I motivate myself by looking at other people who are successful in my field and trying to get to where they are. Once I get to where they are, looking to new fields or to new heights, but I'm never actively saying I hope somebody fails. And that's something that sometimes you might have to check yourself, because I've definitely been there where I start to grow a little resentful of someone and I have to catch myself and go, I'm not going to put my energy there, because that's just not useful. Anyway, I know this video has gone on for a little bit, but I hope it was helpful for all of you guys. If there's anything you feel like I didn't cover that is important or crucial or you just benefited from, please throw it down in the comments and I'll reply to all the comments. But I'm just really grateful that you guys chose to watch this video if you're this far through it. I definitely feel that I have a lot of great knowledge that I can help you all with, and I think that we're going to grow together and achieve our goals. So thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.